Hello and welcome to the Artist Forum. I'm Elliot Torres. My first guest today has a wide array of accolades to his name. His passion for music led him to begin a record label and artist management company, Peace Biscuit, over 20 years ago. His eclectic roster of artists include Amanda Lepore, The Ones, and Ultra Naté. I'm pleased to be joined by Bill Coleman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're originally from suburban New York and attended Mayor's College for Communications. When did you decide that you wanted to be involved in the music industry?
I'm from Pauling originally, and I've been a lover of music ever since I was a kid. There are stories in my family of me before I could walk, hoisting myself up to what they used to call hi-fis back in the day, where records, vinyl records used to be played on, and I would hoist myself up and watch the records spin around before I could walk. So it's been in my blood. I've collected records since I was a kid. I still have the 45s that I've had when I used to buy them, Jackson 5 and the Osmonds and things like that. Throughout school, always listened to records. My friends tell me that I used to play records over the phone to them all the time. And they would put the phone down and come back and I'd still be playing records. And in high school, I would DJ high school parties, and I wrote a music column in high school and a music column in college. So I've kind of always had some sort of affinity for music, and it's always kind of spoken to me and spoken for me.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that you had music columns, because that then led to your work as a reporter and editor for a variety of outlets.
Yep.
Can you speak a little bit about your work for BET, Paper, and Billboard?
Yeah, after college, I graduated in 1986 from Marist, and I had a communications degree. Up until that point, as I said, I was a music journalist. I'd worked at college radio stations. I worked at an album rock radio station interning. I used to travel down here to New York. I think my second or last year in college, to Island Records, and interned in the video department. So I had all of these. I always knew I wanted to be in the music business. I could not wait to get out of college, because I always knew that it's like, I want to be in the music business. I don't want to take a physics or calculus class anymore. So by the time I graduated, I just sent my resumes out to different places, sent it out to Billboard, and I ended up getting hired to be, let me see if I can get this right, the Territorial Rights Project Coordinator, which is a kind of a glorified name for data inputter for the chart department at Billboard. I started there in December of '86, and I had my love of music came with me, of course. So fortunately, there were a couple editors in the editorial department, which recognized how much I love music and that I had a talent for writing. And so there's a woman by the name of Nancy Ehrlich, who was the singles review editor at Billboard, and she used to write reviews for all the different types of music: rock, pop, dance, country. And she would gradually hand me one or two singles to review. And I'd be like, oh my God, yes, of course, you know, I had a little bit of knowledge of how to do that just from my college and high school writing. So I would do it, and I'd hand them back to her, and she was like, oh, you're really good. And she would just gradually keep handing me more. And then one day she'd been doing this for a really long time, and I recognized her byline from just reading Billboard kind of religiously, you know, working in a record store and stuff like that. So it was just an honor to kind of be mentored, so to speak, by this woman. And one day she was like, you know, I've been doing this for too long. I totally think you can handle this job. I want you to take over this. I just started working here. So it was already a huge deal for me to even be in the building, much less be asked to start reviewing all these records. So long story short, I ended up being the singles review editor in less than 6 months of my being in the building.
Nice.
So that was like, wow. So I really have her to thank for recognizing my talent. And then fortunately, Brian Chin, who's also a very well-respected journalist and music historian, really, he was the dance music editor at Billboard magazine. And he was also kind of transitioning out of doing columns and stuff like that. And he also came up to me and he was like, you can do this too. So by the summer of 1987, I had gone from the chart department, just inputting data, to being part of the editorial department and having my own column and essentially reviewing all the singles in the magazine. So that's really what started my professional music journalistic way.
So it must have been quite a feeling to be able to review artists who you had, previously listened to or you were fans of.
It was like a dream come true. It's like I'm from the suburbs, as you mentioned at the top, and to be able to be in New York City, right out of college, kind of dream job. It's like I get to listen to music all day long. Lucky me. And of course we're at Billboard magazine, so many of the labels and artists would always come by all the time. So I got to meet Donny Osmond, and then Nana Cherry would come through, and Sinead O'Connor would be up here, and like all different types of people would always kind of be in our office all the time. So that in itself was also pretty amazing. And then, to get music first was a total kind of coup because you got to hear music before anybody. So that was really awesome. Fortunately, I ended up getting a really great reputation for my journalistic work and for my column. The advertising department loved me, so we used to get really nice ads on my page. Translating means people read it.
Right.
So based on that, I started doing some kind of side work. I wrote for Musician Magazine, did some interviewing and stuff for BT, BBC. People would just kind of call either to interview me to talk about different dance music that was happening at the time, or I started just kind of writing kind of side columns. I did a cover story for Sinead O'Connor for Musician Magazine. I wrote for a magazine called Rockpool. I think it was called Rockpool at the time. And then eventually I started working at Paper Magazine as well and doing a music column a little bit later on.
So when did you decide that you wanted to put the pause on journalism and launch Peace Biscuit and launch your own label?
That happened around 1990. I, again, was fortunate enough that all types of people would send me music, stuff that was either commercially released, about to be released, and demos. And there was a group based out of New York that kept sending me their demos. And they'd come in these really pretty pink packages, envelopes, cassettes at the time, with silver stickers, and all sorts of glitter would fall out and all sorts of things. And I really loved their music. And I was like, oh my God, I love their music. I totally want to try to, at that point, I knew quite a few people in the business, record label executives, A&R people. So I was like, maybe I should, see if anybody likes them enough to sign them. So I ended up playing their music to a couple different people, and people really liked it. I was like, oh, so it's not just me. It's like, yeah, there's something here. So I ended up shopping this group around. And again, long story short, we ended up getting a deal. The name of the group was called DEEE-LITE. I don't know if you remember them. They had a huge,
Absolutely.
We had a huge hit called Grooves in the Heart. First, it started off with a song called What Is Love, and we released a song the summer of 1990 called Grooves in the Heart. Great video by Hiroyuki Nakano. Helped them make that record. We signed to Elektra Records. We had an awesome A&R person who helped us make that record, Nancy Jeffries. And everyone was like, this is going to be a big record. I was like, oh, okay. They need to tour. Okay. Never managed a group, didn't know how to put on a tour. So I had to kind of make a decision at that point, summer of 90, when it looked like this was going to fly, like, do I really want to do this, or do I want to stay in journalism? Because it was getting to that point where I needed to really focus on this. So I left my job, started my company in September of 1990, had DEEE-LITE as a client, and I ended up co-managing them with a company called Overland, which was headed by a legendary manager by the name of Gary Kerfers, who's no longer with us, unfortunately. And he managed folks like Blondie and the Ramones and Talking Heads. So he was kind of like the cool manager and knew how to put on a tour and kind of talk the talk, and I could still work with the band. So it ended up being a really good relationship, because he could kind of do the big stuff and I could kind of work with the band on the music and the A&R and that sort of thing. So I left my job, hooked up with Overland, co-managed DEEE-LITE, signed Ultranate at the same time because she was looking for a manager and she was in the process of finishing. She had a deal with Warner Brothers and they were having a hard time kind of finishing up her album, debut album for them. So I kind of came in and helped with that as well. And that was essentially, it was really like the beginning, had no idea what I was getting myself into. It was just an instinct and a feeling, and I wanted to be, I had always wanted to be in the business. And I guess with any business, like the best way to do that is to just be in it.
Dive right in.
You dive right in, trial by fire, really trial by fire, and just, you know, make experience. And fortunately, hopefully you find people that at the very least you can ask questions to if you don't know.
Right. People
that to kind of look out for your best interests. You know, I was totally a newbie. Probably had a bit of a chip on my shoulder at the same time. I learned a lot. But it was
so you definitely have.
Definitely learned a lot.
Yeah,
but it was nice to kind of, there's an innocence there. It's like I didn't know that I shouldn't do things. So you just kind of do them. And then people are like, oh my God, you know, so.
Well, speaking of Ultranate, we're actually going to show one of her videos, Automatic.
Nice.
Which actually features 2 AF former artists of the month, including Ultranate and also the director, Carl Giant.
Sweet.
So do you find it harder or easier managing artists now as opposed to the 90s?
There's more work to do, for sure. I mean, we are in a generation where things are so immediate and so transient, and there's so much access to people. You know, I could tweet Brad Pitt and he might tweet me back. I don't come from that era. You know, artists were kind of bit on a pedestal, and you know, the image that they had was whatever they put out. These days, there's so much paparazzi. You see them getting a coffee. It's like, I didn't want to see, you know, I don't know, Barbra Streisand having Starbucks. That wasn't part of my interest, you know. It's like, but these days, everyone's kind of been. There's almost like a lowest common denominator that we've all been brought to, that it makes it so artists not only are so exposed, but they're also so close to their fans, and you have to work harder. I definitely find I do a lot more work for less money than ever, simply just because there's more to manage, and because you're managing people's image in addition to their music, and very often you're giving music away for free. So we can have a budget to make a record or single or an album or a music video. And that costs real money. It's not monopoly money. It costs real money. But we're in an era where people are used to getting things for free. So we can spend thousands of dollars on the video that you just saw, but everyone's used to getting it for free. So how do we eat? How are we supposed to generate our income if we make a record and then we have to send it out to everybody for free with the hopes that they may or may not like it? And if they do like it, hopefully they'll invite one of the artists to the shows or might get licensed to a commercial or on TV or something like that. But the amount of income that's generated by artist sales, and this is across the board, whether you're independent or major, has diminished quite a bit, just based on the mechanics of how people get their music. You know, pop has definitely eaten itself, so to speak, in that they've created the hardware so that makes it so folks can get things I can get it. I can snag something off SoundCloud or off YouTube, even if it's not released. I can get it, and most people know how to do that now.
Right.
So it's like technology has been awesome for a lot of, I love the internet. I love the access. I love kind of the global world that's now connected. That's amazing because you can have fans that are in a different part of the world and you can communicate with them directly. So that's the beautiful part of it, is that I don't have to rely on kind of the big bad record company to prioritize my artist. We can go directly to our fan base. Ultra can go to her fan base. Caswell can go to their fan base. Amanda Lepore can go directly to their fan base, which might be global. I don't have to rely on Warner Brothers to put out an ad or prioritize, my artist, above Madonna in order to kind of get visibility. So you can, that part of the technology and kind of current state of the music business is great. It's just the mechanics and the financial part of it is really, it goes like this.
It's a double-edged sword.
It is totally a double-edged sword.
Because there's so much opportunity then for your artists to be recognized, or it's for people to be aware of them, but at the same time then you'll lose money if people are just getting it the wrong way.
And there's also, technology opens the door for more selections for people. This is the iGeneration, iTunes, iPad. That means if I'm boring you, click, click, like you're gone. Like
right.
And I might not get you back. So there's that as well. I come from an era where, there used to be only 13, TV stations. There were only a few radio stations. Now there's like hundreds, thousands of radio stations. If you only want to listen to polka electronic music, there is probably a radio station or blog or something that's specific, that is so specific to what you want,
right.
that it makes things very a little bit divisive. So often.
So in all that variety, how do you make sure that your artists stand out?
Patience is very required, and also I have fortunately, I've been, for as long as I've been in the business, and I've been fortunate enough to work in a variety of sectors of the business, whether it's DJing, I've done film music supervision, consultancy work for other artists that we don't manage. It's about anticipating what's going to happen to some degree, and also just trusting that what you are bringing to the table with each of your artists, or if it's a single or a video, is something that's going to make folks want to interact with it. Whether it's kind of, oh my God, this new Caswell video is awesome, I need to share it with all my friends, or this Ultra song is great and I want everybody to hear it. It's like trying to anticipate what people may be missing. No one's reinventing the wheel here. I'm not trying to say that, we're doing anything that hasn't been done before. It has been done. It's just about trying to find new ways to incorporate current styles, what may be coming down the pike. I mean, you can, throughout history, you can kind of look and see where, music genres and styles have kind of morphed, whether, we're in a big EDM place right now where there's a lot of big kind of electronic festivals and stuff, but starting to, as far as dance music is concerned, things are getting a little bit more housey now. People are kind of rediscovering kind of more soulful house beats, and you can kind of, but it's like, everything's pretty cyclical. I mean, if you look kind of like at the cycle of music, it's like kind of we're kind of on like on a 10-year cycle. You can almost kind of peg when things are about to happen. Right. So
when a new boy band appears,
exactly,
when a new Lady Gaga, right?
Absolutely.
So of your artists, you manage a very talented and eclectic group. Who should we be paying attention to right now?
Well, we have a new artist on our roster. Her name is Bassie, and a lot of people have heard her, but they probably don't put a face or name to the voice, because she's done a lot of music for commercials and advertising. She just had a song that was in the Oscar-nominated film Frozen for Disney,
oh, okay.
a song called We Are Young, and she's had songs in Victoria's Secret commercials and Chevy commercials and all sorts of things like that. So we're in the process of getting not only her music out there, but getting her face and name out there a little bit more. So we're very excited about that. And she has quite a few singles getting ready to come out this year. And Caswell has a new album getting ready to come out. We just finished a book deal for Amanda Lepore. She's going to write her memoirs, so we're very excited about that. And Chris Willis has a new album getting ready to come out and a new single. So it's pretty, everybody's busy and working. So I'm very happy about that.
Well, speaking of Chris Willis, we're actually going to show a video. If you can go ahead and throw it out to the cameras, which
yeah, this is a video of one of his last hits here in America. It was with David Guetta, and it's called Getting Over You, and it features Fergie, who we love, and LMFAO. It's called Getting Over You.
So we just watched that, we just viewed that video, but what do you believe is the future of music?
I feel like we're at a time where music is so accessible, and the exciting thing about technology and where we're at with the internet is that you don't need someone to kind of deem you worthy of a record deal, or you can really make music in your bedroom or on the run or on a plane or whatever and really get it out. So I find that I like the fact that it's so free in that you really can do it anywhere, and it's nice to know that there's maybe some kid that's not necessarily fortunate enough to live in kind of a metropolitan city or something that may be inspired and can really kind of put all the pieces together and also be able to do the research. And in addition to having the technology, you really can do the research and have information at your fingertips to kind of, it's like, I like this artist, or I like what they do, or I like what they say, or and that's the part that I like, and I only think that that's only going to continue to kind of manifest itself in a lot of beautiful and kind of ways that we haven't even seen yet.
So on top of that, what can we expect from you next?
Besides a nervous breakdown? No, just kidding.
After that.
Well, Peace Biscuit, like I said, we do a lot. We do consultancy work for a lot of different artists. I do film music supervision occasionally, DJing, that sort of thing. So my main thing really is, besides keeping the doors open, is to help our artists display their art, whether it's making a record or working on a book or great new music video, photo shoots, that sort of thing. Our main mission really is to just keep on keeping on and making sure that we provide the resources and the avenue for our artists and our friends, 'cause sometimes we work with people that we don't necessarily manage, and to get them out there. It is a really busy marketplace, and it's a lot of people are reaching for the little brass ring. So finding different ways and avenues to get music out there, get somebody's image out there, becomes tricky, but it just keeps you on your toes. Definitely keeps us on our toes.
What advice would you give to a new artist or young artist who basically is saying to themselves as they're watching this that I would love for Bill Coleman to represent me? How would you notice them, or what would they have to do to, or even following your footsteps?
I would say just really follow your instincts, follow your muse. That's what I did. My parents wanted me to go into computer engineering, like to the point where they used to forbid me from bringing records home because I would spend every last coin buying records. and I would sneak records into the house because this was what I wanted. I really wanted this. When I was in college, I would intern and work my ass off at different places that were music-centered, whether it was a record company or a local radio station or a local newspaper or whatever, just to be in the mix. So I would just say, follow your bliss, follow your dreams, and that's going to manifest itself in your art. And that's how you're going to get noticed by me or anyone else.
Right, that's great advice. Well, that's all the time that we have today, but I want to thank you. I know we could go on and on. I want to thank you for joining me here today. And if you'd like to learn more about Bill Coleman and Peace Biscuit, please visit www.peacebiscuit.com. I'm Elliot Torres, and we'll see you next time on the Artists Forum.